Tonight, we are delighted to be hosting one of the great sons of the country, Shaka Ssali, managing editor and host of Straight Talk Africa from Washington, D.C. Many thanks for joining us, Shaka Ssali.
Thank you very much, Chris. It's a pleasure, of course, to be invited on your show.
I'm immensely delighted that I'm able to speak to you today, and the fact that we are able to host you on WBS television ahead of tomorrow's events, where you'll be marking 15 years as host and managing editor of Straight Talk Africa. This is a milestone. 15 years on a show. It's a legendary journey that you've been through.
It's been quite a distance, quite a journey, Chris. I have to be very honest with you that I'm exceedingly humbled and honored to have had the opportunity to be the founding host of Straight Talk Africa on August the 2nd, the year 2000, and that we are still on air and we still have a lot of audience. In fact, an audience that is incredibly loyal. I couldn't really have asked for anything better than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me take you back to the time Straight Talk Africa began and you being the pioneer host. What was the impetus, the premise upon which the program was built?
The platform was expected to make some contribution in as far as African culture is concerned, which is considered to be democratic in dialogue. Straight Talk Africa became a sort of program that allowed individuals across the continent to call in, for example, ask whatever questions they may have on their mind that of course reflected their concerns. And at the same time, being in America, Voice of America also would benefit by learning through that kind of interaction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very many times you've been widely seen by sections of the sitting governments within Africa as overly critical of the sitting regimes, punch sitting governments in your analysis or even critique for that matter, so much so that you find yourself at loggerheads with some of the leaders.
All I can say is that I am guilty of suffering from what I would characterize as being biased in favor of the truth. I am biased in favor of the truth, and wherever the truth takes me, I will go. Now, when you look at my job description, for example, Chris, it gives me the confidence that I need in order to practice my craft, which is that I'm supposed to be an observer. I'm supposed to be a watchdog of sorts. And therefore, being critical of some government policies and what have you is really part of my job. It almost comes to me naturally.
Okay.
Under no circumstances, frankly, do I get into the issues of personalities. I may criticize somebody, it could be a president. I am not criticizing that person as an individual. Rather, I'm criticizing that person as a public official who should be accountable to his own people.
Would you pinpoint aspects that you can attach directly to the influence your program has on either fundamental changes in any part of Africa or being part of a movement that drives progressive ideas or change in a particular section of society?
You know, there was a time when I was actually doing an edition on Nigerian politics. And one of the key guests was a Vice President, Atiku Abubakar. And I remember some Nigerians who came from the Igbo community called in the show and complained about Nigeria discriminating against the Igbo in the Nigerian army.
That's right.
He said, for example, that there was not a single general from the Igbo community. And the Vice President said no, he wasn't aware of that. And when he said he wasn't aware of that, I asked him whether he could in fact name 1 or 2 or 3 generals from brigadier up to general. He couldn't. And what happened was a couple of weeks later, we saw a story in one of the newspapers saying that the Nigerian government had in fact promoted 4 generals from the Igbo community. So clearly that was an impact that had legs, as you could see.
Do you see yourself, or have you deliberately gone out to the people in Kabale, or even in Uganda for that matter, to nurture some of these young boys? Me, by default, I'm nurtured to listen to Voice of Africa and watch you.
Really?
I become inspired and I do my craft.
Well, just in the same way that I was inspired by those who came before me,
That's right.
who were kind enough to lend me their shoulders for me to climb on in order for me to see a little bit further.
That's right.
I have also, over the years, lent my shoulders to other younger people to climb on my shoulders so that they can see a little bit further than I. For example, Julius Muchunguzi. I am sure you have heard about the name Julius Muchunguzi. He works for the Ugandan Prime Minister, Ndugu Dr. Wakana Rugunda. He worked for the Commonwealth Secretariat, Marlborough House in London for about 8 years. And he was a very good journalist in his own right. And there are a lot of others.
Many thanks for making time, and we do look forward to seeing you here tomorrow and interact a little bit more. Many thanks.
Thank you very much, Chris. It was a pleasure being on your program.
Pleasure too.
Thank you.
And that is Shaka Ssali, by all means legendary. And of course, like I said earlier, we shall be together tomorrow, Wednesday, the 17th of February, as he does the Straight Talk Africa show right here at WBS Television, where he'll be linking up to Washington, D.C.